Howdy, howdy, and welcome to the Snort Cast. I am so excited to have my first guest for my show, the Snort Cast. And I do want to acknowledge to country, the land that we stand on, and pay my respects to the Kulin Nations, and pay my respects to elders past and present and emerging. Shiralee Hood is an Australian indigenous female comedian. Deadly is something she's taught me to say. She is a comedian, a writer, director, cultural education practitioner. She has blown away audiences throughout Australia with hilarious stories and is an outrageously funny take on life. We're just going to watch our first guest who will be speaking on the Snortcast. Her name is Shiralee Hood.
My name's Shiralee Hood. I'm Black Original Australian. Yeah, I'm woman. Yeah, and I'm left-handed. Exactly. Good to see the lefties, eh? Triple threat I am, mate. Triple threat. I got no man, fucking bastard. No money, can't seem to hold on to it, mate. No home, I got no car, had to sell my ute, sad thing. And I got no dog, can't have a dog without a car and a home, mate. And I got no teeth. Oh, yeah, exactly, no teeth, mate. Have you ever had your teeth knocked out traditionally? No, neither did I. Oh, this $1 million smile from a Hills hoist, mate. Exactly, eh? Spending time with my niece and nephew, had my baby nephew on my hip, spinning my niece on the clothesline. Woo, woo! And we were laughing. Next minute, this big wet towel come around. Knocked my teeth straight out, man. Next minute, crying. Quick, everyone, look for my teeth. Yeah, so I put my baby down so I could still see him in my peripheral vision, you know. That's right. When my brother found out what happened to me, he rings me up, hey, sis, you right? You still talk properly? You still pronunciate your words? I said, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, brother. Yeah, but there's one word I can't say, and that's peripheral vision, man. Fucking peripheral vision. So I just...
And that is the work of Shiralee Hood. Shiralee, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Can you tell us who you are?
Hi, everyone. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the Kurnai Nations in Latrobe Valley, where I am at the moment, in Gippsland, Victoria. Great to have you out here. Wow, it's been a crazy run. I'm Nyunga Kurnai Gunditj Jamara. Nyunga being Perth from my mum's side, and Kurnai Gunditj, Kurnai from my father, and Gunditj Jamara from my grandparents' side. So I am all the West and the East mixed together. And as a Black Australian, they say indigenous these days. I'm Aboriginal, Nyunga Kurnai Gunditj Jamara. They're our countries, and it's great to be here today, sharing with the world. Yes, I've got living my life as an Aboriginal person, seeing many injustices in Australia to our people. I do a lot of work in the community and do a lot of work just making sure that Aboriginal people can keep the sanity in life. And I think comedy is the only way, especially just during lately. It has been pretty crazy, and with the COVID pandemic across the world, and with our movement of Black Lives Matter, I think it's really important to be speaking out, especially as an Aboriginal community. I think it's really important to push our voice and our message. So I do a lot of work around that, around the area, and I found that I could keep my sanity most when I did comedy. So I've always come back to it and tell our stories from our point of view.
And it's so important, and you've really highlighted what's happening in our world right now, which is a pandemic. And we just found out today that Melbourne, Victoria is on a 6-week lockdown from tomorrow night. How are you traveling in that?
Oh, well, I was traveling fine a little while ago, but I've just had a few funerals that I had to travel for. And while I was traveling, some white boy that I was subletting from threw all my gear out, packed my room down. So I know that I have to go and pick all my gear up tomorrow and my life within that room. So I'm feeling like Black lives don't matter at this point. That's how I feel. So I'm just keeping up the craziness and watching the cycle of life and finding out what my next step is.
Yeah, and
Especially
you
to be
talk,
thrown out in Melbourne while the pandemic is really high.
and that
Yeah.
is
Oh well. As long as I don't go licking any train station railways, I'll be fine. We've had a few deaths in the family of young people, which is just not right. And that's why it's so important now talking about Black Lives Matter around the world. I'm so proud to see the younger generation really stepping up and doing something about it. So keep going, beautiful people. It's so important to say and voice our opinions now.
you also talked about the cycle of life because you've just welcomed a new nephew, haven't you?
But the beautiful thing, after dealing with funerals and getting chucked out during COVID, all this sort of stuff, we've had birth of babies. So it's been fantastic. And baby boys have just come home in the last few days, and we've really enjoyed family time.
That's beautiful. Talking about joy and talking about comedy in this tough time, how did you first get into comedy?
It was kind of funny because I thought it was a great idea that a man named Jason Tamaru came up with, and he came up with the idea of doing a comedy competition. Why are so many Aboriginal people from Australia so funny, but we don't have any stand-up comedians as such? So there was a movement to start Aboriginal comedians. I thought it was a great initiative. So I said, put my name down, bro. And so when my name was down, I had a few goes at it and it bit me. I was bitten by comedy and I've loved it ever since and rolled with it.
How long ago was this?
How long ago?
Mm,
Um, 10 years now, 11 years now.
amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long
2009. Time flies when you're having fun. So over a decade, been running around and getting a lot of audiences, and we mainly concentrate on the Aboriginal audiences within Australia.
Can I ask, how have you used comedy in your storytelling?
Well, it's kind of funny because Aboriginal people of Australia, we've been doing storytelling for many, many years. We're one of the longest running people, and making sure that you see the money within a story and being able to make the twist and having a laugh at the truth of each situation has been really important, a big part to play, especially in um, with the First Nations of Australia. We haven't had much of a voice, and still today people think that this was a non-Aboriginal colony. They only know it from, so they don't acknowledge that our whole continent was like Europe or Asia. We had many different countries on this landmass. And so Aboriginal people, we have our different countries and they are about 2 hours apart. That's what I was saying before with my Nyunga. Nyunga, that's a country from Perth, Western Australia. And Kurnai, with a K, is Gippsland, Victoria. So we have our whole language map and our maps of Australia that people are just sort of finding out as they come to live here a little more. So comedy is a great platform to be able to tell our yarns, have a laugh, and also let people know what's going on in our communities.
And it's so important at this time when we've talked about COVID, we talked about Black Lives Matter, and we talked about pain. because there's been a lot of pain in Aboriginal history in Australia. In the darkness, we seek light.
Mm-hmm.
How have you used comedy to seek lightness?
Well, sometimes it is so heavy and life gets so heavy and dark. But it's kind of funny. There's only one way to go when you hit rock bottom, and that's up. So finding the funny that can help make you laugh, and it's just in truth. Sometimes it's as dark as, a whole lot of cousins and brothers and sisters wanting to get home for the night, and we see this car. It's only a little car, but we can all, do we only, it's not one of us owns the car, so that's all right. But do we have just 4 people in the car, or do we have 40 people in the car? We always choose the 40 people.
Yeah.
And that's just the way, at least we all got home. You always have to keep yourself looking on, for the silver lining. It's not bad. Then you get your material. That's how I get my material. At the moment, I'm like, please, material. I've got all the material I need. So I'm still looking forward to doing things. I've done a few shows throughout different comedy fests. With the Canberra Festival, I did Shiralee Hood All Fired Up. And then I did another show, Rock the Boat. And that was having a look at our boat people and rocking the boat. Never accept, always just put in front of you and expect it to be true. You have to rock the boat if you don't agree with it. And that's how I always think, well, that's a good way, question everything that's going on and make light of crazy situations, because sometimes the best thing and the only thing you can do is laugh. Comedy style is, and my latest show was Planet of the Apps. Technology is taking over the world. So I spoke about the different, how people's worlds are like little boxes that they have on the apps, and how it's all color coded and all just fit into a nice space. And everybody gets home, they all walk into their own little boxes, shut doors, pick up things, and they have little boxes for the rest of the night. Like, there is the humanism. And maybe I think, COVID has come along to make sure we stay home, get to know our families, and make sure we have a contact of our human side instead of running off all the time. I don't know, just thinking.
You make a really good point. I think a lot of us who are artists, we've been very good at being extroverted and putting our work out there, but maybe the work is inside.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's all because comedy, it's all from us. It's better to write about what you know and what you live. So, talking about Aboriginal people is the only way, and giving my point of view as an Aboriginal woman, surviving in Australia.
And that's why I went to comedy, was to speak about being a Vietnamese. That's why I went into comedy, was to speak about what it's like to be Vietnamese Australian. So I hear you when you say that.
Have you? From the stolen generation of Aboriginal people. People say, and the government says that happens a long time ago. My mum came from where she was taken directly from birth, taken to a mission where she was looked after by nuns, grown up with about 300 other young kids who were treated very badly and bashed every night and sexually abused. This went on in Australia for 250 years. That's 25 generations now. So my grandmother and great-grandmother and so on were all bashed for speaking their language. So now, unfortunately, I speak English. We can't get a house in Australia because everybody's so racist. The real estate is shocking in Australia. It's very hard to get a job in Australia unless you're an artist or a government worker or work for Aboriginal rights. So Aboriginal people actually live in a third world in Australia, and I think the government keep it down because really it's a lucky country. So comedy helps me cope with all that sort of life back. And I think
Yeah.
it's a good way for us to be able to share with the world what kind of treatment we get in Australia. Comedy's the best way to do it, because only through love be able to maybe some sad stories that didn't happen a long time ago. It's happening now. Yeah.
Yeah, it is happening now.
But I'll tell you what, Aboriginal people are the only people in the world who can make a stick come back.
What do you mean?
Like a boomerang, mate.
Oh, gotcha. Yes, gotcha.
Yeah,
Have
yeah, we're the only race that can make a stick come back. The boomerang.
yes.
First Nations Australia.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Shiralee. And can I ask, have you missed performing live?
So much. Haven't we missed doing it live? Yeah. I missed having the audience and connecting. But I come from a big family, so we all get a chance to still talk, you know. But I do miss it. It's been a few months now, but I get a recorded special that's being played tomorrow. That's being played this week. Yes, that we're recording for ADOC 2020. Yeah, with all brilliant musicians. So looking forward to that and catching up with performing as well.
What what was your favorite performance and why in your career? Can you remember a time that you went, oh, this is why I'm a comedian?
Wow, there are a few of those. I love the things that are really quite controversial um, and just ones that are challenging. I've done a lot of. I take comedy to prisons all the time. The men's and women's prison in Victoria and the ACT. I've been doing that for many years, and I like to do the domestic violence gala. I do comedy at the domestic violence gala. That's really full on. Women's conferences, stuff that people don't always talk about, and maybe think that there's sort of no avenue to speak about something. But you can talk about such subjects when we just open ourselves up, and I find laughter does a lot of that. And even though some of these subjects are definitely not funny, you have to be able to see the light in order to breathe. I think it's breathing it out and speaking about it and voicing it that makes us have a conversation. And that's why I think it's really important with what's happened to George Floyd. If the police bring that to black men in the middle of the day, just while somebody's doing shopping, like what's going on behind doors and what's going on in our education system, our health system, and everywhere around the world. I think it's a big eye opener, and I'm really proud to see this young generation responding very well. It's a way of making our world a better place. So,
I hear you. What would be your tip to how people can share their stories? What have you learnt that could help someone tell their story like you have?
don't be afraid of the truth. Get to what you really want to say, and then funny can happen all around that. And take the journey, getting the exact sort of words together, And I think, I think if you're telling the truth about something, eh, the comedy, the comedy naturally comes out, and so does the humanism. Within comedy, I like to make people think as well. So if you get that style, you're on your way to telling your story, and keeping the laughter. There's many beautiful facts out there, that I always try to just bring to light and share with the world, and that's done through comedy. Suppose some other tips are like write it down. Write it down. If you only think of it as a thought in your head, get it to pen and paper if you can, or say it enough times in your head that it becomes like a song to you.
Oh, beautiful. That's a beautiful tip. What is your next journey? Where are you heading to?
We have had an amazing amount of time to do a bit of writing.
Yes.
Lots of writing has been coming out over the COVID time. Lots of statements. It's a really funny thought. I have enjoyed just able to immerse myself, having a look at a different style of comedy, because sometimes we've been doing Zoom comedy, but it hasn't been to audiences. And it has again made you review how you tell your stories and what they really mean. So my next journey now, I think I'm at the moment, I've been writing, and I've actually been writing a few films, comedy films. So I hope to have the opportunity to be doing some comedy films, and coming back when we're allowed to work together is to produce some hilarious Aboriginal films that we see in the characters of our people around the nation. So a big hello to all the Nyungas, Kurnais, Goodish Jamara, Yungu, Murrays, Nanga, Pitnjar, Yamajis, Wongai. Brr. Hope it's all going really well, and it's been great to have a yarn with you. Shiralee Hood in the house.
Shiralee Hood in the house. And thank you so much for joining us, Shiralee Hood. I love your work. If you want to follow Shiralee's work, please go and follow her on Facebook. And we will see you all next time. Thank you for joining. Thanks, Shiralee.
Brilliant. Stay safe. Thanks for having us. All the best. Brr. Snort you later.
Snort you later.